Okay, so let me give you a little bit of insight, um, to the business with regard to that idea of your development and growth in it. And this is after 20 years of being in it. I feel like I could speak from what I've observed. Okay, and I'm big on observational um, data, and what I've seen. And if I've been doing this 2 years or 5 years, I could maybe talk a little bit. But after being in it 20, there's definitely something I've seen, and it's really interesting to me. Again, coming at it from the behavioral economics type of person that I like to be. It's one of those things, man, everyone's got a good book in them. So let me go over this concept, and I'm going to mute everybody. Let me go over this concept because I think perspective is everything. You talk about creating a clear vision, by creating a clear decision. That there are two major decisions you have to make. The first decision is getting in. So all of you had made the first decision. The second decision is never quitting. Okay, and that's a constant decision. Sometimes it's a daily decision not to quit every day or not to quit when things, If I ever had any advice to you, is quit when everything's rocking. Like if you're ever going to quit this thing, quit when everything's going well, because at least you're doing it for the right reason, right? You're not doing it because things aren't going well. It's kind of a weird way to think about it, but it's really, I think, an important way to think about the perspective of this business. Let me give you another perspective. I think every single one of us, if you've gone to elementary school and high school, I think you'll totally get it, okay? So let me share my whiteboard. Here's actually the funny thing about all this is I was not sure. I had a couple things I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to talk about until you guys gave me feedback on James Coleman. And this is so relevant after what he talked about. So I want you to follow me. I want you to follow me here. This is totally off the top of my head. I have more of a detailed teaching notes on this, but I want you to understand the concept anyway, and maybe this will help you make a clear decision to have a clear vision. So high school, let's take high school. Most of you all have maybe graduated from high school, okay? And so, high school is broken down into 4 years. You got your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, okay? And I don't know if your high school is like my high school, but if you did like a minimum amount of work, got at least C's or D's, and didn't really you really almost have to try to flunk out. You really were not meant. The whole system of education is designed to kind of push you through to graduate from high school. So raise your hand if you graduate from high school. I can't see you, so imagine you're raising your hand in your own mind, okay? And so when you think about it, when you're a freshman in high school, what did you do to become a sophomore? Well, you probably went to class, right? Okay, you went to class. You started learning how to study, because high school is different than, 7th and 8th grade. It's just a whole different deal, I had to really adjust to it. So freshman year, you're learning what the teachers require of you, what your counselors are demanding of you in order to graduate, all those things that you're supposed to do, the classes you're supposed to take so you can move on to your sophomore year. And with the objective is by the time you're a senior, you've got all the blocks filled. You got all the classes checked off that you were supposed to take in order to graduate. It starts at your freshman year. So if your freshman guidance counselor did their job, you kind of knew what you had to do your freshman year, which broke down to your first semester, right, of your freshman year, what you had to do to get through it. So you probably had to show up to class. You probably had to take a certain number of these types of classes that all the other freshmen were required to take. You had to at least pass or take the test, and then boom, your second semester, and then you did all these things your freshman year, and then you get pushed along into your sophomore year, right? and then from your sophomore to your junior, and then from junior to senior. You got all the blocks filled. When you check the blocks, okay, you move on. Check the blocks, you move on. Check the blocks, you move on. Then finally, you graduate. And this is like, seems like the fastest time in my life with my children is when they became a freshman, this like 4 years, just like this. It went like that, right? And for most of us that are parents of children, we kind of knew what we had to do to make sure that they were going to graduate from high school, particularly if we had the vision of them going on to college, you know, getting a, you know, this is kind of the add-on, getting the, you know, bachelor degree, could BA, BS, whatever, and then even maybe a master's, right, a master's degree. They had to get into college. In order to get into college, they had to do certain things. They had to get good grades, better grades than other people. They had to maybe do some community service. There are just things they had to do in order to get to college. So when they started as a freshman, you knew what they had to accomplish. So you were making sure, if you were active in their education, to make sure they filled the blocks to move on so they could have a future with higher education, right? I don't know how your parents were, but my parents were your typical Asian parents that drove us. But we actually had our own self-drive, okay? So why do I tell you this? So when you became a freshman, you knew that if you know, some of you, I'm not gonna say all of you, but some of you thought, well, I need to get my high school diploma in order to go to college. I need to actually do halfway decent so I can be competitive and get into the college I want to get, right? So never in your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year did you ever think that you wouldn't be able to do this, right? That you wouldn't be able to get past your sophomore year, or you wouldn't be able to do everything you need to get your junior year. You just knew that everyone else was graduating, so I'm going to graduate too. And you saw people that dropped out of school, and you didn't want to be like them because they either drug addicts or they never showed up to class. There's clearly qualities in the people that dropped out of high school that were not the qualities that you wanted to emulate in order to get your high school diploma and then be able to get into college, right? In fact, maybe some of you, like me, I always hung around the college-bound kids. I was always in honor classes. I always wanted to, but I never, in my 4 years in high school, did I ever doubt that I was going to get my high school diploma. Never, right? And it's sort of in our culture that this is what everyone does, right? But we never worried about moving on because we knew we were going to do the things in order to get our degree. So the high school diploma, in order that we can move on from there, okay? Now, remember, when you became a freshman, all of you go back, let's go back in time. Back in time, when you went from 8th grade to your freshman year in high school, think about how that dumb little kid, I'm talking about myself, was like, man, high school, this is high school, and all these big kids, you know, and all these cool kids, and, you know, and then you had your like class schedule, and you had to make sure okay, man, I got history 101, then I got English 101, I got to go to PE, where's the gym, you know, and okay, remember what that was like to just start your freshman year, your first day of class, right? There was a lot of stuff you did not know, but during your freshman year, you started learning stuff. You started learning how things work. You started learning the social part of it, like all the cool jocks and stuff hung out here. Then you got your stoners that were in the back parking lot. Then you had like the artsy kids that were in choir and theater. They're over here, you know. Then you had kind of the middle people that didn't fit into the, you know, the varsity athletic crowd / cheerleader crowd or the theater artsy fartsy crowd. There's sort of that, you know, you had the kind of the academics that just all they focused on was academics. And then there's kind of the people that were nondescript that were there. They went to high school because they're supposed to be there. They might be moving on, but, you know, you had that kind of that middle group of people, right? And then you start learning the lay of the land. Then it's like, okay, my first semester I didn't do too bad. Now I just got to repeat the same thing. Sophomore year, you're smarter, aren't you? You're like, okay, you come in your sophomore year, okay, let's look at all these punky freshmen coming in. Like that was you, right? That was you last year. But now you're like a sophomore. Now you got all these like punky freshmen coming in. And then, but you're still like the bottom of the upper class, right? You know, you get through your sophomore, then your junior year, it's like, okay, man, I'm a junior now. I'm almost going to graduate next year, but I'm at the top of the lower classmen, okay? And then you come to your senior year, you're just like, man, I'm a senior. I'm a senior. I'm at the top. I'm at the top. Everyone is an underclassman compared to me. You know, I mean, you have that, okay, this is going to be a great year because, man, I'm going to graduate this year. I'm looking to move on. You know, and I had fun. I had a lot of fun my senior year because I was in varsity basketball. I like hung out with the athletes. I was also in theater. I was also one of the academic nerds because I was like salutatorian in my high school. So I blended with all the groups. So and you can probably tell my personality. I was always like that. I went from group to group, clique to clique to clique. You know, that's why I was voted homecoming king, because I could do that. I was always good when I was younger at relating to all kinds of different people. That was my thing back in high school. So anyway, so here's why I'm really going into depth on this, because I want you to see how this analogy is our business. This is our business. This is you. This is you coming into the alliance. Everyone that are brand new, you're a freshman when you're brand new. Right? Rick and Dan and some of y'all, Joy, you're still a freshman. You are learning how to get on the phone. You're learning how to have confidence. You're learning by coming to all the meetings and hotspot meetings and conferences and webinars, etc. You're learning the lay of the land. You're learning the basics of getting on the phone. You're learning underwriting. You're just checking the blocks of just getting started. Are you going to be good at it? Probably not off the bat. Some may be, but that's like a small percentage. But you're here. You're just getting the feel for lead program and lead investment and your return on investment and you're just kind of feeling it out, right? And then you're starting to get on a few appointments and you start getting a feel for, okay, I got it. I understand now why we do mortgage payment protection instead of offering a 70-year-old a 15-year term for a $300,000 mortgage. Oh, I get it now. I get why the whole life products can be better instead of mortgage protection product because, oh, I understand underwriting a little bit better now, right? So here, your freshman year, you're learning the lay of the land. You're learning to be competent. You're learning to get, probably the biggest thing you're learning, you're trying to learn how to be consistent, but you're not there yet. You've still got self-doubt that creeps in. Even though you might have a good week, the next week you have a bad week and then you're second-guessing yourself. You're wondering, was I just lucky? When in fact, you're just going through what everyone else goes through, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flow of the business. So the freshman year in our business is you're just trying to get everything down. You're trying to get confident that you actually can do this thing. Right? And so when you get your freshman year, you're learning all those things. Those are the blocks you're checking. Okay, now are you going to make money? Probably. Maybe not as much as you thought you could, but maybe you're making enough to know that you can actually follow through in the process of taking care of a family, following it through to getting underwritten, getting issue paid, and having that policy stay for 9 months, but you don't get a chargeback. You're starting to get that down, but maybe it's not at the rate and the amount that you need it to be, right? But you haven't quit. Because remember, you're still a freshman. You know that you're going to graduate. You know you are. Because if you just do what you're supposed to do, you're going to get to your senior year and get your diploma, right? And here's my opinion, is that for wherever you are in the business, in my opinion, I think that getting your diploma is either hitting agency manager or consistently doing $20,000 a month of issue paid business if you're a producer. Okay, that's where I think your diploma is. And you're doing it with ERS referrals and you're doing it with annuities. Okay. All right. Issue paid. This is where I think your senior year, this is where you graduate to, where you can do this month after month after month, regardless if it's winter, summer, spring, or fall. That's where I think your diploma is. And then when you're building a business, I think it's agency manager as well, is where you graduate, right? So I just described your freshman year. So let me talk about your sophomore year. What is your sophomore year in our business? Your sophomore year, you are starting to learn better how to handle negative and how to get through negative to keep your activity level going. Your sophomore year is when you start becoming consistent. You're starting to develop a consistent level of appointments. Your number of your blanked weeks go down to almost like, it almost never happens where you blank out in a week and don't submit something. You're getting into that consistent mode, right? You're starting to figure out lead flow. Okay, you're starting to figure out, okay, well, I can't get enough leads here. Okay, I need to go over here. You're starting to grasp the concept of managing your lead flow, right? Okay, you're starting to understand underwriting. You're starting to understand underwriting. So now your placement and persistency starts getting leveled off at better than it was your freshman year because it's up and down, okay? Right? You're not getting threatening letters from Foresters threatening to fire you because your placement rate sucks, below 65%. Now your placement rate and persistency rate is starting to get into like 75 to 80% placement, and your persistency is starting to get into like 75 to 80% persistency, not the highest that it can be, which, you know, Carolyn Rollin, the highest in my entire hierarchy, 90%, 90 and 90, 90% placement, 90% persistency, okay? You're getting your mind right here. You're starting to grow. You're learning how to handle the negative. Instead of speaking negative, you're speaking positive. Okay, you start getting into the positive self-talk. You're starting to believe stuff more, okay? You're starting, let me say it again. You're starting to get there, but you haven't slayed it yet. So your sophomore year is you're starting to get consistent, okay? You're starting to like, okay, I can really do this. So that's 2 years into it, okay? But Alex, I'm not there yet. Well, because you flunked your freshman year, you repeated your freshman year. You might be with us 3 years and you flunked your freshman year 3 times. You haven't got to your sophomore year yet. So some of y'all have to go into remedial training summer school. You know, how many people you know that didn't make it past their freshman year, they had to repeat their freshman year to get to their sophomore year. So, I mean, some of y'all have to, you know, get there. As long as you don't quit, you're going to get through here. You're going to get through this. So what happens your junior year? This is what happens your junior year. Suddenly, the light bulb goes off. The light bulb goes off. And you start to understand, if I invest more, I'm going to earn more. So you invest more, you're going to earn more. This is where you start letting go of the fear of investing in your business, and you start investing in it in a big, burly way. This is where you make the transition. You make the transition from investing little to investing a lot. And I'm talking, what am I talking about? Maybe it's not $800 a week, but maybe you were doing $200 a week and you bumped it up to $500 a week, right? Now you start understanding that if I bump it up $500 a week, I'm going to more than double what I get from $200 a week, because you've got the confidence now that your numbers are, you've started nailing your numbers because you've got such activity going on that you're consistent with what your results are. And you know that if you're consistent, when you run 15 appointments a week, that you're going to get this much in return of issue paid business, then you like, okay, man, I need to do that every darn week. And your junior year is when the light bulb goes off and it's like, I know I can do this. I know you're confident. This is where you're finally confident in everything we're teaching you, everything we're teaching. You finally believe everything we're teaching you in yourself. You finally totally believe. This is where I think sellout happens, where that you believe you could be a Brant Swindell. Because Brant went through this himself. It took him actually longer to get to his junior year than 3 years. Okay, maybe an extra year. But then you totally sell out. And this is where you hit your senior year, because then this is where all this turns into results. You start getting the results, right? You manage to keep your mind right. You've created focus. You've got your schedule down now. You know what you're doing on your schedule. So now you've got focus, you got your schedule, and you are associating like a crazy man and a woman. You're associating like crazy. You're getting around people. Andy Albright knows your name. He's texting you directly. You got your schedule down. You know exactly what you're doing every week. You got your focus down, and you are getting results. You are getting consistent results that will back up an $800 a week investment in leads. You're thinking now, oh my God, I can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can, because that's what these people are doing, turning in 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 a week in submitted business. That's what their investments are. But you know what? They're making like, $8,000 a week in commissions. Anyway. So your sophomore year, your senior year, at the end of your senior, you've graduated and you're consistently, you're making here, you're starting to make now 150 to 250 a year on up, 350 a year selling. I'm only talking sales right now, but this is the process that you can get to your senior year. It will happen if you go through the growth process. You can't shortcut this process. The only way to shortcut it is you do massive activity, where your freshman year is in 6 months, your sophomore year is the next 6 months, your junior year is the next 6 months, and your senior year is the next 6 months. End of 2 years, you can compress this. That compression happens when you amp up everything more, which is activity. When you are nailing the activity harder, faster, you're associating more, you're reading more, you're doing everything more. Okay, but this is just an ongoing pace of staying with it, okay? But if you want to accelerate, you certainly can. But you will graduate. You will graduate. You will do $20,000 a month. Now, here's where the master's degree comes in. When you graduate to doing $20,000 a month, then the complexion of your business changes. Because here, your master's degree, or your college, this is going to college. This is where you start kicking butt on ERS. This is where you start kicking butt on annuities, right? You're doing about 1 million to 2 million annuities, right? Like Brant and Terry Edwards. You're making money, a bunch of money on ERS, so your lead bill goes down. Half your appointments are coming from referrals. 25% of your appointments are coming from current clients that you had sold from your freshman year on, right? And only 25% of your business is coming from leads. This is where this is university here. This is when you're getting your college degree in being a professional insurance agent, all right? Now your ratio from what you're investing to return gets flipped. This is Michelle Alleman's got her doctorate, okay? But that's kind of the person that has everything. She's doing $40,000 a month, right? Okay. So your actual investment in your business for selling goes down, but your production goes up. This is where you start nailing it. And here's where you're really kind of, in my opinion, your master's degree, actually both here is when you're able to teach it. You hit your master's degree when you have the ability to teach others to do what you do. See, it's the difference between being unconsciously competent and consciously competent. The conscious, competent person can teach what they're doing and help other people reproduce what they're doing. The unconscious, competent person can't do that. They know what they do, but they can't teach it to someone else, right? And sometimes our best teachers are the ones that had not been 40,000 a month producers, but they have the gift of teaching how to do that, right? Like, look at the NBA. Some of these coaches were never NBA players themselves, like Coach Polstra down in Miami, right? He started out as a video editor to edit game tape to be viewed by the players and coaches. That's where he started. Now he wins a title with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, right? And he's still coaching. So that tells me something, right? Because he's got this gift of being able to teach. This is where you got your master's degree. When you can teach it and help other people become productive. Okay, now let's talk about the building process. Through this process of you graduating your senior year, you're also recruiting and building. So this is what happens on the building side. All right, on the building side of the business, while you're going through all of this on the sales side, it's funny how the building side really kind of mirrors it. That's why you need to do the same thing on the building side as you are on the sales side. In my opinion, you don't want to have to get to your junior, senior year selling, but then you got to start as a freshman on the building side, which a lot of people do, unfortunately, because they have to kind of go back for the building side to become a freshman. So on the building side, you're starting to recruit people. You're starting to bring people in, and you're losing a bunch of people. You're wondering, man, why am I losing so many people? Why are people dropping off? Why can't these people do what I want them to do? That's the mentality of a freshman recruiter, is why can't I find people to do what they're supposed to do? I tell them, Alex, what to do. I tell them what we expect from that they need to go to I tell them exactly what they need to do. If they don't do it, then I'm not going to work with them. Okay. That is your freshman mentality. And plus your personality is not one that people are attracted to. Okay, and that's why you lose a lot of people. But fear not, because you can learn to be much more of an attractive person when you do stuff like reading and getting around and associating with people that have great people skills. Then you start observing Andy Albright and going, man, he's really good with this type of person who's totally different than himself. Andy's the Southern redneck, but he's really good with that New England guy, Boston, who doesn't talk anything like Andy, but he's really good relating to him. And this is the art that you're learning to get to your senior year becoming an agency manager. So you're starting to get your mind right on bringing people in. You start realizing, dang, I need to treat people better. It's a people skill. So now you start, okay, so here's what happens your freshman year is that you're inconsistent recruiting people. Like you bring people in, they don't do anything, and then what happens is your production goes down, and you blame it on recruiting. You're like, well, I'm not going to recruit anybody because I'm not making as much money, so I'm going to focus on producing. And so you start producing, you're not recruiting, you lose all your momentum, and then you start getting inspired by recruiting again because all these people are growing and they're going agency manager. It's like, why am I left behind? And then you start recruiting again, and and that actually goes into your sophomore year. It's a belief thing. You're trying to get the belief that you actually can find someone who's going to do this. And sometimes it takes one person to get in, regardless of how terrible you are, the people skill side, that will do this in spite of you. Sometimes you find that one person who grows in spite of you. Might take you 100 people. And then you start discovering that you give that person to your upline to work with because you know you suck and your upline is going to help someone really good get going because they have the experience and knowledge of how to get someone going, and you get out of their way. This is where you start having the presence of mind knowing that my upline, if I give him someone good, he's going to do better with that person than me. This is where you start realizing I am not a Napoleon. I am not going to shield my downline from my upline. I want my upline to work with every dadgum person I bring if he's willing to or she's willing to, and letting your upline work. And while they're working, you're watching them work. You're seeing how they talk to them. You're seeing that they don't badger them. You're seeing that they only get the movement to the next level. You're starting to realize, okay, I think I'm getting it. I got someone growing in my downline, and my upline's working with them. So I think I'm starting to understand what I need to do. So all of a sudden, the sine wave of recruiting and producing becomes steady. You become consistent your junior year of recruiting. You've probably found 2 or 3 people by accident your freshman and sophomore year. So you become consistent with recruiting every week. You're producing every week. So if you learn how to handle your schedule, so you're doing both. Your production's going up, so you're learning to reinvest in recruiting. Now you're consistently finding people every week, and you're being nice to them, and you're learning how to help each person individually with how they like and what they need, what they like, what they need, and what the things they're personally looking for, right? So now you've got a small team going. In fact, what's happening now here, your junior years, you're finding people that want to build too. You might find one person. In fact, this is how you're going to find one person your sophomore year that's going to want to build, right? And that person sticks with your knuckleheadedness because they're a pretty special person that your upline's working with, and they're building a team. So they're starting to go through you're during your sophomore year, they're going through their freshman year, all right? Now your junior year, you're starting to get consistent. You're starting to understand. It's starting to dawn on you, building relationships. You're getting good at relationship building here. Relationships. You start asking people what they're looking for and then helping them get it. By the time you get your junior year, you hopefully have maybe 2 or 3 people, right, that are starting to get into their freshman year of building, and you've got their sophomore year person that's in their junior year. So by the time your senior year, you've got your person that you found here that has gotten to their junior year, and they're doing about 25,000 of volume. You found another person that's in their freshman sophomore year, and they're probably doing, maybe 15,000 between them and maybe another or two other people. Then you've got a couple of producers. That's typically what's going to happen. You're going to have a few producers out here that are producing to get you your 3rd and 4th leg, but you found the 2. The first person is starting their freshman year when you're a sophomore. The second person is starting their freshman year, 1 or 2 people, because you've got depth, that are starting their freshman year when you're a junior. This guy becomes a junior when you're a senior. Does that make sense? And they're going through the cycle and the process of going through their freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. That's the process of duplication. And when you hit agency managers, because you found people behind you, you learn to get consistent, you got your mind right? Going to university is when you start moving up. District manager, right? Your master's degree is when you go VP, EVP, right? So district manager, regional manager, national manager is when you're going to college, because now you're starting to learn, right? And you're teaching what you're doing. So when you teach other people to do what you're doing and getting duplication on the leadership side, then you're graduating at the VP, EVP level. Does that make sense? If you just follow the same process you did, and you're doing this while you're going through your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year and selling, everything comes together. Everything comes together when you graduate doing $20,000 a month, and you're an agency manager, and you're probably making $350, $250, $350 here. Here you're going to make $500, and here you're going to make $1 million, right? But all this is laid out for you. All this will happen just like you became a freshman in high school. As you go through it and do what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to graduate. You're going to move. You're going to graduate to your, you're going to get bumped up to your next level as sophomore, then junior, senior. Now, you might have to repeat your sophomore year twice, or your freshman year twice, maybe and your sophomore year twice. But by the time you get your junior, senior year, that's about a year process, right? So where people go through the treadmill is getting their minds right their freshman and sophomore year, right? Once you hit your junior year and start getting consistent and got your mind right, boom, everything happens from there. So anyway, I hope that made sense. I don't even know how long I've been going. How long I've been going? Okay, not even an hour. Does that make sense, gang? Let me see if anyone has any questions. Anyone got any questions on that? Can you identify where you are? You don't say, but can you identify where you are on the spectrum on the building and selling side? I bet you can.
Yeah.
I bet you as I was going through it, you were like, in your mind, I don't know what's going on, Rosemary, but your line is loud. I hope in your mind you're trying to kind of peg where you are on this.
I did, for sure.
Really?
Yes.
My 20 years of doing this is what I've seen. This is what I've seen agency managers take 4, 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years sometimes, 7 years to get to AM. And then $20,000 producers, it doesn't typically happen their first year, but Grant Swindell maybe took him 4 years, 5 years to get here. Like Grant Swindell today, the senior, graduated senior is not the freshman. He was where you were. Everyone was a freshman. Does that make sense? So you have hope. If you just go to class, take your exams, don't be a truancy problem, show up to class, do your homework, right? Do your work. Read. Like how many people can graduate high school without reading their textbooks? I know you probably have people like that, but they're probably very few. You got to read books. You got to go to class. You got to associate with the people that are successful. You got to be around them, right? You got to go to class, man, and you got to get good grades. Yes, maybe your parents thought a C is acceptable. My parents, man, anything less than an A was not acceptable. Anything less than getting an A. That's why I got 1 B in high school. And do you know why I got a B in high school? Why I became salutatorian and why this Chinese girl beat me? Is because I was in PE class basketball with my sister who was like maybe a year or 2 below me. We were like in PE basketball. I was a varsity basketball player. I killed everybody. Me and her, we killed everybody in that class because we were both on the team. And I had a bad mouth. I would cuss and swear because I didn't make a basket I should have made. And I was very much a perfectionist. So I was beating up on all these like pedestrian players. But I was really mad when I missed a shot because I shouldn't have missed any shots. And my mouth was bad. So my freaking teacher gave me a B. And that's why it's the only B I got in high school because of my stupid mouth, right? It was a shock, but I deserved it. So anyway, that's it, man. I hope you understand this whole thing of not quitting because you're in school. You are learning to get better. You're learning to get the results, right? And anyway, I hope that helped. All right, man. You must be Asian. Yes, I am. Absolutely Asian. So what's other people's excuse? It's funny how people use race as a way to explain why they're not as good as an Asian. Like we're terrible drivers, right? So you can blame us for being terrible drivers, but I know it's a prejudice, right? There's got to be a reason why white people are getting straight A's too. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's they're working hard. They're working as hard as the Asian kids. Maybe their parents are expecting more out of the white. Their white parents are expecting the same thing out of their white child than the Asian parents are expecting out of their Asian child. I wonder if that's really the real deal. I wonder about that. Anyway, rock on, man. God bless everybody. Take care. Hope it made sense.